Making big decisions or deciding between two really close options can be like mind blowing. Do I move to this town? Do I follow this career? Do I get this new house? Do I move to this neighborhood, that neighborhood? Do I buy this car, that car? Do I follow this dream or that dream? Or do I marry this girl or that girl? Or do I marry or not marry? Or do I, all these decisions that we have. Now, I normally do more acting, directing, filmmaking, business related stuff, which this pertains to. I use this for business decisions as well as personal decisions. So we find ourselves making big decisions quite frequently, and then when we don't have somebody who's just there to tell us, "Oh, do this," sometimes we can get caught up, and then through basically having these two options that we aren't sure about, or three options, or five options, we stagnate and don't take any action, which is the worst out of everything, right? Of course, when you're forced into a decision, you're forced into it. You got to make a choice. But oftentimes, we're not forced into situations, and we should be making choices that could benefit us or that could hurt us. And we don't do it, which keeps us where we are, which often isn't good. Because, in life, it's not about who you are. It's not about who you think you want to be. It's who you're becoming on a regular basis. And if you're not becoming, if you're not evolving and you're making choices and decisions and growing, you're not becoming, you're not developing into anything. So big decisions often can stand between, can stifle or stint our development. And we have very limited time on this planet. So it behooves you to be able to make big decisions. Let's use blue for this. Fast. Okay? That's the big thing. Everyone can hum and haw for weeks and months. Should I invest in this program? Should I not? Should I move to this town? Should I not? Da 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 da. Should I have a kid? Should I not? Should I move to this house or that house? This neighborhood, that neighborhood. This car, that car. This girl, this guy, that, like whatever. There's so many choices, and people who hum and haw over it tend to be less successful. Decision making is one of the key factors of success. Period. I say that to people on strategy calls for Draces when they apply. I often ask for a commitment right there on the call. And people sometimes are like, "Whoa, wait a minute, I don't know." Dude, we were on the phone for 45 minutes. We spoke about it. You said you like what you heard. And now it's like, well, I think about everything. Okay. I get that. But if you're able to make decisions based on just what sounds right to you based on logic, then you can move a lot quicker. And there's a lot of prep work. I'm using the context of Dracis, my program, but this I do this for everything. This method that I'm about to show you, I do this for the neighborhood I want to live in, the school I want to send my kids to, the communities I want to be a member of, the projects I want to take on, the vacations, the things, everything. Like everything that's I'm debating between two or so things, or debating, whether I want to do it or not, I do this. So I just wanted to pass this little tip on to you guys. So how do I make big decisions quickly? I've noticed that using logic can never go wrong, right? So geometry and math and science and science has become a bit of a subjective term, but geometry and math, logic, 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4. These are things that make sense, right? So there are mathematical laws of nature, at the basically fundamental level, fractal patterns and equations that answer all sorts of physics questions and things like that drive this universe. And so the same goes for our decision making process. If we are on the fence about something, what we need to do is we need to not use our brains to make the decision, because our brains are good for kind of processing and things, doing things like on a more immediate level and critical thinking and stuff like that, but they aren't so good when it comes to looking at a lot of data and comparing data sets. So for that, we want to leverage lists, and in this case specifically, a pretty simple pro and con list. Okay, well, this is not your average normal pro and con list. I do it in a bit of a different way. Now, I don't know if this is something other people do. I just kind of thought of this one day, and it's been working really well for me. So what I do is, let's say you want to move to Los Angeles, and you're currently living in Fresno, California, and you've been debating on moving to LA because you want to be closer to the entertainment industry, right? So that could be a big decision, and there's a lot of things that could cause you to stop making that move, like your job, your finances, your family life, all those things. So what I do, it's gonna make some room here. And this isn't just a regular pros and cons, so stick around and maybe, I really think this will help you guys. So let's say I have 3 choices. New York, LA, stay. Okay? You're debating between these 3 choices, and you want to make a decision fairly quickly. And you want to make a decision so that when you have made the decision, you're confident that it was the right decision. But how do you make this decision just based on the way you feel? Like, stay here, it's the devil I know there's no industry here, and pay for jobs is kind of lower, and the opportunities are a bit less, but my family's here, and yeah, I don't know anybody here, I don't know anybody there, I know these places are expensive. So what do? I have my dream, I have my aspirations, but does that outweigh the rest of my life? That's exactly what we're here to find out. So now what you do is you take New York, you take LA, and you take stay, and you write down all the pros. I'm gonna make these color coded. And we're not going to spend a lot of time actually making this list. I'm just going to illustrate the example here. Pros, pro. And then you're going to take all the cons. Okay? So, New York City, pro, strong TV industry, modeling. I'm just saying, like, if you were a modeling, is very strong, big market. So let's just say, what? Not break it up too much. Big market. Many opportunities. I'm not going to write these out. Have a friend there. Great nightlife. You go on all the things that professionally and personally attract you about New York. All of it. Great history, great da-da-da-da-da. Write them all down. Then, cons, right? Expensive. Busy. Cold in the wintertime. I don't know. You can think of cons as they pertain to you, right? No family. All right? But really dig deep and throw them all on there. Like, no chewing gum allowed on the sidewalk. Like, put all your cons. That's not an actual con, the real thing in New York, but just, to illustrate the purpose here. Do that for many items. You want to have I'm not going to give you a number, but you want to have as many items in each one of these as possible. Then you do the same for LA. For film and TV, New York is a big market. LA is a huge market. Good. Okay. Perfect climate. Casual atmosphere. Have an uncle. Write them all down. All the pros. No. All the cons. Earthquakes. And so on and so forth. Then you write down all the pros of staying. I know everybody and everything here. Very familiar. Cons. No industry. Low pay. Blah, 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 blah. Okay? This is what you do. This is step 1. Now comes step 2. This is where this system differs from pros and cons lists that you've maybe had in the past. We're going to assign a numerical value from 1 to 10 to each one of these pros and cons. In the pro, this is in order of gravity or importance, right? 1 is a small con, small pro, not a big deal. 10, big con, big pro, big deal, right? Huge contributor to your decision, not a huge contributor to your decision, right? And the gamut in between. So now you need to do a little bit of mental work and say, okay, how important is a big market as opposed to the market that I have? So it's a big market. That's a big thing for me. I would mark that as a 10 because I'm moving. Actually, it's probably more like an 8 because it's it's not the end. It's not the biggest market, but it's a really it's a 10 because that's what's determining whether I move there or not. That's why I want to move. Really. Many opportunities, that's a 10. I know a friend there. That's a 6, that's very important, but not super important, Great nightlife, that's probably a 3, because I'm not going there to waste money. Con, it's expensive. That's a big deal to me, 10, that's a very expensive place. It's very busy. That doesn't really bother me that much, so I'll make that a 4. It's cold. I do not like the cold. That's a 10. And I don't even remember what I wrote here. No. Anyway, whatever. Let's say this last point is a 2. Okay? So now you go do this for every point on every pro and con list. And it doesn't matter how many points you have compared to each other. You don't need the same amount because what you're going to do is you're going to average these out. And the way you average it is, of course, you do 10. You add up all these. So 10, 10, 6, 3. So that would be 29. And then you divide it by 4. Okay? So I'm not going to pretend like I want to make a fool of myself here. So that would be 7 1/4. Right, so now you have 10, 10, 6. So that's 10 plus 4 plus 10 plus 2, right? That's 26. Right, so you divide that. By 4. Okay, you end up with these scores at the bottom of every pro and con. Okay. This is your logic. This is after you've dumped your brain. This is the math that tells you which decision to make. The pros outweigh the cons in New York. So, New York is a positive move. The pros outweigh the cons statistically. You've done the math, right? No matter how you feel about it, you put all the cons down, you put all the pros down. The numbers don't lie. You have a 7.25 for pro, you have a 6.5 for cons. You would prefer to be in New York over not being in New York, right? Now you'll have a score for LA, and let's say that's an 8.1 and a con of 7.9, and you'll have a stay pro of 6.1 and a con of 8. Based on these numbers, which decision do you need to make? You got to move to LA. Decision made. So that's it for this video, really. That's how you use math and logic to make big decisions. I've never regretted moving, not moving physically necessarily, but moving on a decision that I made based on one of these pros and cons lists. Sometimes I go back and I wonder, well, what if that? But then I just refer back to the numbers. It never fails. So use this on your next big decision. I hope it helped. Have a great day. See you on the next one.